morning to you, William.
Morning.
Good day to be a Mauritian, isn't it?
Very good.
Not such a good day to be British.
Yeah, British expense. Yeah, it's astonishing.
Yeah. So we're now subsidising other people's tax regimes.
Yeah, we've asked in the SDP. We've asked for an inquiry into this. There's something very strange about this deal.
There really is.
So bad and so not in our interest. It's not in British interests at all. And for it to just come out like that and be sort of, agreed under the auspices of international law, which wasn't there. Dreadful, yeah. And stories like this will continue to come out. And we've got 99 years of this, theoretically. Every single year we're paying parts of their bill. And so, yeah, if you're a Mauritian citizen, you're jumping for joy.
Yeah, street parties all round, I would imagine.
Fantastic.
And what about David Lammy now, off to Gibraltar? This has got a bit of a sniff about it as well, isn't it?
Well, would any sensible person trust Lammy or Starmer on the Falklands or any overseas asset whatsoever, on Gibraltar or anything, given their record? Given the fact they've both given speeches basically decrying colonialism and wanting for reparations. I think they think this is a form of reparation, a form of atonement. We've done badly, let's make it up, you can have everything, it's total surrender.
Do you know what they're like? They're like the worst football manager. You know, when people say when you're the manager of a football team, you have to be careful that you don't change the club because you're only really a part-time caretaker of the property, which is the club. The property, which is Great Britain, is being sold down the river by this lot.
But I would like, and most British citizens would like, a leader and a foreign secretary who actually liked the club. Actually liked the country. Actually fought for it a bit.
Exactly. And stood up for it.
Stood up for it,
Instead of which we're giving ourselves no room to manoeuvre with France and with the European Union. We're saying take as many fish out of the sea as you like. We'll take all the migrants. We'll give you a load of money, but we won't get anything in return.
It's like a form of state capture. It's like I don't say that lightly. It's like if you've got people running you that don't have your best interests at heart. And would prefer foreign, entities of various councils and institutions to take control, then you're in real trouble. Have you heard that there's a man called David Betts at King's College who's done a bit of research on the potential for civil war? And he's actually predicted that this is quite a reasonable likelihood in Britain.
I mean, people say to me every day that we have to rise up and fight this, and I mean, I worry that actually that will happen.
I worry that
you don't want a civil war.
But it's basic. No, it's horrifying. I mean, but it's basics. He just rationally looks at it. If you lose control of your border, if you have unvetted people coming in every day, it breaks the social contract.
Particularly if they commit crime.
But it's the contract. The social contract's gone. Should be. You look after me. Government's first priority is to look after its safety of its citizens, protect them, and it's not doing it. So, and it's weird. I mean, it's interesting. Your previous interview there, Richard Fuller said that does Starmer thinks he can control the world? I honestly think some of they've got no commercial experience.
No,
there's about 3 people in the cabinet have some, but it's not very impressive.
But the thing I find astonishing is that even before I did what I do, and even before I started kind of working properly, when I was a teenager, and even when I was at college and university, I had a job. I worked. You could see how business worked. I worked in some very manual jobs. Working behind a bar, working in a bakery, all that kind of thing. You see how the business works. How have they not even done that? They don't even seem to have a grasp of actual figures.
The root is activism and NGOs and charities, in particular the Labour Party charities and SW1 think tanks, and then they get into politics from there, and too few of them have got any real experience. But the commercial experience thing is really important, because what's happening now is that they've made the massive tax grab, and sure as eggs are eggs, it's crushed the economy. They're actually crushing the private sector right now. The tax base is being destroyed. PMI index is below 50 now, so we're in a contraction. Unemployment is up. All the metrics are going wrong.
Over 100,000 people in May alone left the PAYE system. Which means that that will happen now on an ever increasing basis, I would imagine, for the rest of the year. Which means probably by the end of the year, you could have 500,000 more people unemployed.
Exactly. 109,000 in May alone. It's shocking. But this is the root of it is that they don't understand. They're basic. They think they can grab the tax and nothing else will happen. But what it does is it puts businesses in the pubs and the drinks industry and the hospitality just on the brink. A lot of them not making money. So it's their inexperience and inaptitude for it.
And the housing business has been really badly hit.
Can I look at that?
Yeah, let's talk about that, because this morning I was having a conversation with somebody who lives in London, was thinking about moving house, but has said that the stamp duty cost now is so prohibitive that they're just not going to do it. Then looks at possibly putting on some kind of extension on the house, prodigiously expensive again. Yeah. So he's not doing either of those things. So there's no money going into that system, right?
Yeah.
The housing market's slowing down massively.
Yeah.
People are not moving.
Now we can see this, so that the volumes go and the flow goes, and then it gets clogged because people can't downsize and free up capital for other things. I just want to just help the viewers and listeners on this announcement. Yeah. Because honestly, Mike, it's like sort of Soviet times. Yeah. They're saying things that are just not true. So they announce the 40 billion for housing. Yeah. No, it's about 39, and that's without indexation over 10 years. Yeah. The actual figures are they spend about 2.5 billion on social housing a year. That's going to be increased by about 200 million. Right. A tiny increase.
So a really small increase.
A very small increase. And I'm in favour of building social housing, and that's fine, but it's puny, absolutely puny. Yeah. The total housing budget now that they've got for social housing could house about 30,000 people. Repeat, 30,000 people on a year on this. Right.
Which is not enough.
No, but the net migration. So just net migration is nearly 450,000.
Right, and that's lower than it's been. Yeah, by the way.
Yeah, so they're insulting us by saying, "Oh, this is a massive." They said it was the biggest social housing expansion in 30 years. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Mike, listeners, listen to this. It's going to provide enough housing for 25 days of migration. Right. It's nothing. Right. It's absolutely nothing.
That's pathetic, isn't it?
They think they can gaslight the public. They think they can say, get these big figures and announce them. And Labour cannot announce a figure that is in per year. They cannot do it. 40 billion over 10 years. They won't even be in government in 5 years' time.
No, of course they won't.
So I'm just fed up with this.
This is why we were talking about defence review earlier with the former brigadier of the SAS. Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, you know, they're talking about being on a war footing, for example, building nuclear submarines. You know, but then they couldn't actually tell us when they got right down to it how many nuclear submarines, because apparently they've already got 6, and they said we're going to have up to 12. Yes. And up to 12 could be none.
Up to 12 could be 1.
Could be 1, yes, could be 2. And it'll be 10 years before we see the fruits of it anyway. So what war footing are we on? We're not on one. Same with the housing announcements. Every announcement they make is basically a lie, isn't it?
It's gaslighting the public.
And if you were to be honest, I would ask you the question: who's going to get these housing, the extra houses? Yeah. Probably an awful lot of people coming here from overseas.
Well, that's true, because this is a downstream of both Labour and Conservative governments for 30 years have been very keen on low-skilled migration. But low-skilled migration is very, very expensive. Yeah. Because if you look at whether those groups are net fiscally positive, i.e. they contribute, or they're negative, many of them are massively negative. Some of the stats, the Europeans have better stats on this, actually. The OBR's just catching up, and we're getting something from them. But in Denmark and Holland, it's calculated that some migrant categories are costing £500,000 per person over their lifetime. Yeah. That is colossally...
We've got figures that I've seen which say at least 150,000 per migrant who works in a low, as you say, a low wage economy.
And then this point about the London housing stock, which is, I think, just under half. It's something like 48%.
Yeah, but that's the figure from 2021 from the census. So you can guarantee that's over half now.
It could be. And then if you drill down into the figures, quite a lot of those households have very, very high levels of worklessness and welfare dependency. So, no, it's crazy. I mean, we need to get sensible, Mike. Good governance should be the main thing we're looking for.
Absolutely. But you see what's happening in Northern Ireland at the moment. Yeah. And there's lots of different reasons for why the people are unhappy. But ostensibly it's over in a particular incident like Southport, where a sexual assault has been committed, or at least has been alleged to have been committed by 2 young teenage boys who would appear to be Romanian. Yes. They've been charged, I think, and they're going to have a trial. But people are angry because, Northern Ireland, I know it quite well. I don't know how well you know it, but it's a relatively tight-knit community.
I've got friends there.
It's a relatively tight-knit community. Yeah. You suddenly put a load of people in from somewhere else, and those people suddenly misbehave and/or start, committing crime.
This is why people have got
It's a tinderbox.
It is, but this is a boiling point. But this is why the government have to step up and actually take some control over the borders and get real. Because if this continues, it's all to do with people feeling powerless, basically. If their communities, without any democratic consent, change demographically massively, without their consent, and then crime happens and assaults of this kind happen, people feel actually the crisis for government is legitimacy. People think, well, who's going to help us?
Right.
And in Northern Ireland,
and it's the government's fault. Basically.
Yeah, it's the government's fault because they don't listen.
They've created the problem.
And there's no sign, unfortunately, Mike, with this government, I can see no sign of it getting better, even better.
No, absolutely not. Final question for you, which is not related to politics really, although Heidi Alexander is putting it forward as an idea. Driverless cars in London by next year.
Yeah.
I'm not getting in one. I don't know about you. I don't like the idea. I don't trust them.
No.
You know, I don't fancy it.
No, well, on this I would say I believe it when I see it. I mean, you're taking agency, aren't you?
Yes.
Mind you, having said that, some of the big cities in Britain, you look at the quality of driving and you think, some of it's not too good. But yeah, honestly, I believe it when I see it. I think it takes agency away. What they're trying to do, Mike, is to have driverless cars that end up being like buses.
Yeah.
Paris is very keen on this. The Parisian city government is very keen on people getting rid of their cars and having transport pods that move around. But I think that's bad. I'm old enough to... People loved their cars.
I love my
cars were
take it
were
from
different
my cold,
shapes.
dead hand, I'm afraid.
Exactly, yeah. No, I love mine, so no, it's not happening, I'm afraid. Mine's a diesel, I have to say.
Yeah, mine isn't a diesel, but the one before was, and the one before that was, because, of course, Ed Miliband said diesel was better.
I need the range to go up to Orkney.
Yeah, you can't have an electric car.
No.
You